Hello everyone. This is the next game in the match Mikhail Chigorin versus Wilhelm Steinitz in 1889, which was held in Havanna. And well, this is the game 7. Both sides exchanged some punches, and the score is 3-3 after some blunders and some nice play as well. So this is the game 7. So Chigorin starts with e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, bishop c5, b4. Another Evans gambit from Chigorin. Despite blunders, he insists on playing it. So after bishop takes b4, c3 was played, and bishop a5, and now castles. Queen f6. Steinitz sticks to his favorite move, because this move brought him success, so why not? d4, and after knight g7, bishop g5, and after queen b6, d5 from Chigorin. Finally, Chigorin plays positionally and goes for the best continuation, because knight now goes to d8, and the center is solid for white. And now queen a4. In an era without engines, Chigorin comes up with the best line against this setup. Well, at least one of the best. Now here, bishop b6 was played by Steinitz, and in the hindsight, this is just a blunder and probably a losing move. But it looks very natural. The bishop is attacked, it wants to get back, but we'll see why exactly. So this is a brilliant plan from Chigorin now, with knight a3. Knight a3 threatens knight b5. Now this is what will happen if, for example, black waits, like h6, just attacking the bishop. Then knight b5 attacks the queen, and queen moves to g6, and bishop takes c7, king takes c7, and knight takes c5. Looks horrible, really. I mean, black's king in the center, and white lost a central pawn, which was holding white's... black lost a central pawn, which was holding white's center. So now these pawns will start rolling. But, for example, what happens if c6 is played? A pretty natural move. Then, rook a d1, threatening to take that pawn, f6, d takes c6, queen takes c6, and now knight b5, and this looks just terrible. a6, knight d6, king f8. First of all, black's moves weren't easy to find, and white's attack is generally very, very simple. So this wasn't a good continuation. So knight a3, queen g6, bishop takes c7, and now this is just one-way traffic, because after king takes c7, knight takes c5. So basically with queen g6, Steinitz preempted the knight b5 move, but what did it change really? I mean, this still happened on the board. So after queen f6, knight f3, just going back and then preparing to push e5. Queen takes c3. Now this looks like pawn grabbing, but really there was nothing else to do for Steinitz. There's no better move. So e5, and now c6. This is like, getting position even more cramped, because after d6, it seems that, after locking the position, Steinitz is just playing with 2 pieces down now, with his rook and bishop just dead. So after king f8, bishop b3. A good move from Chigorin, because the bishop solidifies itself on b3 with a pawn, and also gives queen access to the king side. h6, and now queen h4. g5. This was Steinitz's idea. Now here, queen h5 was played. Chigorin could play knight takes g5, but after queen takes c5, knight e4, and knight e6, seems like black is untangling, and white lost one of his central pawns. I mean, it's still winning for white, but and it's objectively better than what Chigorin played, but this is just not needed really, because after g5, queen h5, now knight g5 is much better. because now queen d6 was played. If instead now knight e6 trying to untangle, then bishop takes e6, d takes e6, and knight takes g5 actually threatens mate, and this is just all over. So instead, after queen h5, Steinitz played queen d6, queen d3, and now rook a d1. Getting the last piece into the game. This rook on f1 is also needs coming out, but not yet. I mean, after f4, the rook will be placed perfectly. So this is basically the last piece. And after queen h7, now Chigorin starts rerouting his knight, which is the best idea. Of course, you could play some very complicated line with e6, but this is a good plan. Knight c2, and after king g7, here knight e6, after knight cd4 and knight f4, well, this looks very good try for Steinitz. But of course, I mean, Steinitz played king g7, trying to get his king to the safety, but now knight c to d4 from Chigorin, queen g6, and queen g4. He doesn't have to worry about the bishop, because that bishop is dead for the whole game. So now h5, this looks scary, but after knight f5 check and king f8, Chigorin just exchanges pieces, because Steinitz is 2 pieces down, as you can see. So queen takes g5 and knight takes g5. Chigorin's technique was not phenomenal, really. I mean, he didn't play all the engine moves, but he's winning, so that's all that matters. So h4, a very tricky move from Steinitz. And Chigorin plays king h1. Now, what was the idea behind it? Well, if, for example, h3 is played to stop the pawn from moving, then rook h5 loses a piece. And you can't play f4 now because the king is pinned. So after h4, this king h1 preempts rook h5, so now he can go with f4. And now those knights are beautiful there. Knight e6, Steinitz is trying to untangle somehow, but now g4. H takes g4, knight takes g3, h takes, okay, and now rook h6. And now Chigorin just finishes the game very elegantly. He plays knight takes f7. Now, I mean, the king should take, or, I mean, f5 is still gonna come, so why wouldn't you take it? So king takes f7, now f5, king e8, and now f takes e6. It seems that the bishop is finally getting out, and the rook as well, but not really. After knight e4, Steinitz resigned. Now, why did Steinitz resign? Well, there's nothing he can do. For example, if bishop d7 trying to untangle, then knight f6 check, king d8, and then knight g8 threatens the rook and the deadly check on f8. And if rook h8, there is rook f8 check, bishop e8, and now bishop takes e6. And now I think you can agree that this is resignable with a clear conscience. So the final move of the game was knight e4, and here Steinitz resigned. Now here, let's go back for a moment. In this position, after queen a4, this was wonderful idea from Chigorin. The idea that after knight a3 and knight b5, black's position would crumble. And we'll see that later in this match. I mean, Steinitz comes up with a better defense, so that he would still have the cramped position, but I mean, not lost like this one. And he will sort out his problem bishop and rook as well. But this game, Chigorin was better prepared and won a brilliant game. So the final position was this. Thank you.